And so this program is my third one, and it's called Demystifying AI from Fiction to Function. We're going to do a lot of kind of covering a bunch of things. And at any point, if anybody has any questions, let me know. I like to make it an open discussion. And I don't know all the answers, but I can definitely try and give you some more information that I've learned on it. And so who develops AI? So it's kind of like a big question. We see it everywhere now, and we've seen all the different company names going along with it. And this is just a short list of some of the big names that I've seen. And a lot of them have developed different parts of it. So they're not necessarily like all developing the same thing, because AI is a massive undertaking of a project. So you see here, Google, which is also Alphabet, that's the parent company name. OpenAI, which is now pretty integrated with Microsoft because Microsoft went and put like $10 billion into them, so they kind of have a big piece in it now. IBM's up there, which a lot of people may say it's kind of weird because they're a bit outdated in the technology world, but they're actually such a big focus on chatbots because they kind of developed all that. So they're definitely big into this game as well. Microsoft, Meta, which is the new name for Facebook's parent company, and NVIDIA, which NVIDIA might seem a little different to some people, but they build the graphics cards that really change the whole dynamic of what we can do with computers for AI now. And so, and a lot of the time too, you'll see in the corners, I have a little kind of, what are they called? Reference to whatever I did for a prompt in regard to the background images. So here I had a couple different AI bots in a pencil drawing style. So throughout the images, you'll see, generally I've tried to design a lot with AI so you can get an idea of like the different variables that they can use and demonstrate different art forms. And so who uses AI? And it's really going to come down to everyone because it's integrated in so many different functions right now. So for instance, in the private sector, we'll see it through healthcare systems, entertainment industries, technology industries, and in the public sector, we see it here, like in the library. I can make a pretty easy coloring page for somebody just by typing in like, hey, I want this character in a coloring page format, and it'll be able to just give me a nice, easy page to print out. Just as an alternate to what used to be a lot of people just Googling to find an image, and it had to be a good resolution so you could print it out. There's a lot of availability in the technologies now with AI. So everybody can start using it. And what really is AI is large language models. It's going to be kind of more commonly seen as LLMs. And it's essentially just a huge database of all the information that the computers have taken in and kind of constructed different algorithms for like what we see most in pattern of text recognition, or what images colors look like, or variables in those. And it gives you a whole bunch of different like metrics in how it builds it. Some companies are better at sharing that information, like what is in their large language model that made up the data set, and others are a lot more secretive about it. And we'll get on to that topic in the dark side of AI soon. But essentially, it's just a network of computer systems. OpenAI is probably one of the most popular because they developed ChatGPT, which I think most people have probably heard a little bit. So they distinguish patterns, provide the results, and especially, for instance, an example for that is text prediction. So if you start typing something and it gives you a little pop-up that's, you know, maybe the word you were looking for, it's just taking those patterns of recognition from different sentences and giving you a result that may either be like the most common result or maybe the most fitting for whatever you're typing. But it's interesting because results aren't always picked by what's the most common. So if 95% of people say, I am, and then the word comes up happy or something, it may come up with different results for similar words, but not always give you the same one. They just put in a bit of randomness to it, so it doesn't sound like everybody's the same statements. It's not always like everybody's a robot of nature for it. So it can pick different responses and results. And here are a bunch of the different AI systems that we're starting to see that are becoming pretty popular. In the imagery side of things, Bing Image Creator, which we'll do a demonstration on later. DALL-E, which is kind of a fancy looking name. They've built a really big engine for image creation, and a lot of their work is built into Canva, Bing Image. I think it's also built into Sora, I think the last one on the list, which is like a new video style system. Midjourney and Netcafe, just another couple options in building images. In audio, there's 11 Labs and Otter AI. Audio is really interesting because it's kind of, and a lot of these we'll see different little creepy ways of things, but in audio, they can just take like 30 seconds of somebody's voice and then they can have it create like whole discussions under the impression of that voice. So it's pretty crazy. I think some people may have heard during the primary, there was that instance where there was a robocall system using Joe Biden's voice. And because, popular figures, if you got a lot of your voice out there, they just take that, put it in a system, and then punch out whatever words and statements they want it to say in that voice. So yeah, it can get misconstrued very easily. It's also a big element that has scared into the entertainment industry. So you'll see like audiobook narrators. That's a big worry for them, because if they narrate 30 seconds of one book, well, AI can take it and turn it into, well, it can read an entire book for people now without necessarily needing them, and as well as into creating movies and anything like that. Text is kind of a big one where it's become so popular because OpenAI created ChatGPT. And originally, ChatGPT was pretty much primarily just text. In the last couple months, they've come out with a new version. I think they call it ChatGPT 4. It's the latest model. And that one can actually do imagery as well. So it's becoming a little bit more multimodal. So that's kind of a big term that's coming up now. Is multimodal means it can use multiple different like media styles or inputs and outputs that aren't just specifically one text or one image system. Another text one is Google Gemini. I think it's also going on board the same thing where ChatGPT, where it integrated images as well. Translators, Google's really popular, and DeepL, which I think is short for deep learning. Those are just two groups that also do translations. And this is one of the new ones I was just learning about last week, consensus.app. And I'll show you this later. It's pretty cool because somebody's taken and built a database, because you can build your own GPTs as they are. And they built it around actually like curated resources. So instead of it just being a search engine on like, what's the big healthcare thing, like some Medline site or something like that, without having to go through all of the different healthcare systems. This system takes all the research papers that people have done and provided that have references in them and allows you to do searches through it and kind of build in. And through those diagnostics, it also gives you the references to the papers that it's using, which is a huge, I think, implication that will be a positive side of things for AI, is that they are providing more references now, whereas originally it was just, you could punch in, throw me a summary of Shakespeare altogether, and it could do that, but you don't know, what's it pulling from unless you really dig deep into it. On the tech side of things, there are systems. GitHub is one, so it helps with coding. So people that build websites or like app development. And another kind of interesting one that I've been looking at, XView 2. It's a structural damage analysis system, and I think it's the Department of Defense is developing that with another company. And it's kind of cool because they're able to take like natural occurring weather events and estimate structural damage by looking at satellite imagery and processing it through these different models that AI develops that says, if it was a tornado and it does this much wind damage, maybe there's prediction that these buildings, because the image of it shows that they were all made with like wood paneling on the sides or something, those are probably going to see the most damage as opposed to the cement style buildings or something like that. So it's kind of a cool and positive outlook use on AI there.
Quick question.
Yeah.
Do you mind if I take pictures of yourself?
Oh, go right ahead. I'm actually going to do a video of this one. I'm recording the share screen of it, so I'm going to post it all too. So, yeah. So another thing where we use AI, and this is both like how the systems use it, so the companies and such, as well as how people use it. So for instance, in social media, it's really based on interactions. So you'll see in like Facebook or Instagram or other systems, when you like something, it tries to kind of curate more references of that style to you. So you'll see maybe more things. If you've searched for something in particular, you'll see more of that show up. It's a lot of the time AI-based cookies or tracking that develops those, which is also tied in with advertising, which enhances your shopping. Map systems like Google Maps or Apple Maps, it's really cool to see they're developing so many new techniques for people to see on their cars, the best route to get home. So it can, in real time, kind of develop like, oh wait, there's a scenario where this road is closed. Here's your better options, and you can track it by like time, or if you wanted to avoid tolls and such. There was like a pretty generic system of that early on, which most people probably have used with like GPS navigation systems, but they're becoming a lot smarter and a lot more adaptive to our current environments, where they've also integrated walking paths and routes and bike trails and routes. One example I already mentioned is coloring pages. This is a quick and easy way to do it. AI, you just type in what you want. For instance, if you wanted a coloring page for a laptop, like you see in the background, it can build in really simple and quick for instead of having to like go and dig through Google to find an image. One really cool thing I think for libraries is seeing historical documents transcribed. This was a cool one I saw on display with one of the state librarians where they took a picture of an old document and ChatGPT was able to transcribe it. So it looks almost illegible to our eyes because the very cursive-y nature of the old script. But it was able to transcribe a lot of that. And it's pretty quick too, because you just take an image, upload it, and it just provides you a text version of it. So it's really interesting to see. AI is also super important for logistics and route planning. So if you run like UPS or something and you need to know like the best system coming into the holidays on how to get the most packages out in the shortest amount of time, they're integrating AI in every way. Same with engineering and planning for development. Now, AI systems primarily work on a token or credit system. So, for instance, every time I punch in one of these little like prompts to get an image that I have in the background, it requires a certain amount of tokens or credits, depending on which site you use. These don't necessarily correspond to the number of texts that you input to get the result. It's kind of depending on each system and like what they consider like an input variable or quantity of them. So for instance, the word the, usually that's not going to cost anything, but if you attach the mouse or something, you add a character to it or something or a subject, it's going to take it as like 1 credit or 1 token. It's not necessarily across the board the same, but that's kind of one of the ways that they do that. And depending on the model of system that you have, you may have ones that give you significantly more available numbers of tokens per month for free, or you might have to buy them depending on the system you're on. And we'll cover some of those examples coming up. So AI primarily runs on prompts, whether that's image input or it's text input. In particular, I've kind of written these in for text because maybe a lot of uses of those cases will be in the text base. But the tips for prompts is you can provide really clear instructions. And you can add all the context you want. You really can put almost anything in there. And the more you put, the more specific a result you might get to. Kind of similar to a Google search where if you put in astronauts, well, you're going to get a whole variety of information on the space systems and all that such. But in AI's case, you can put more like, tell me what an astronaut's thinking before they go on board the ship or something like that. And then they can build you a whole bunch of different ideas on like, well, they go through this process. They got to make sure their suit's set this way. Food's ready and all that stuff. So it gets you a little bit more specific. And you can tell it to write in a certain role or voice. And that's important because that also kind of determines what results you get. So if you ask it, I think last time I did one on how do firefighters put out a fire? And I said, write it from the point of view of a second grader. We had really fun results because it was saying like, well, first imagine you're a superhero with a really big water cannon. And then it would tell you, also don't forget, tell your parents, call 911. And it would add some really relevant information, but also try to make it a little bit more less scary for kids or something like that. But that's also going to give a different role, because if you told it to tell it from a firefighter's perspective, well, you got results that were very specific on like, you need this length of a hose for this situation, or you need to make sure that everybody's evacuated, and it goes through all the steps in a different perspective. So pretty interesting there. And so the big thing with AI, the system doesn't work like a search box as much as it's more of a conversation. And that's because AI kind of has a memory for the conversation that you're having. So whatever you start typing with, it can continue that. You can also create new chats though, so you don't have to worry about like, well, now it only thinks I think of this. Well, you just start a new chat and it's kind of like a new flat blank page of paper. But you're able to keep a continuous conversation going. And if you get a result and you want like a little tweak to it, where you can say, hey, on that result, I want to see only half as many or something like that. Well, it'll curtail that result to get you the more required answers. So there is a dark side of AI, and I feel like there's a very big realm of the dark side of AI, but at least I'm going to touch on a few of the big things. In the first case is the lack of transparency. So the companies that built this have not told anybody yet, or nobody that I've heard of, how they built it. So there's a lot of ideas on ChatGPT was primarily based on messages and texts and information on the web from 2020 and prior. With the latest update, I think it's a lot more recent, so they've integrated a lot more in the last few years as well. But they've been able to just scalp anything that's on the web. And pretty much that covers things from like Facebook to Weather Channel to everything. So anything anybody's made on the internet that they've got access to, they've used it to try and like build algorithms around, which is an issue, especially regarding privacy and that ethical issue. And as of right now, I think it's still in like a combination of Congress and also like in different courts right now on like how to proceed with making sure that we still have privacy, but also making sure that it's a little bit more available, because there are good use cases for it, but you don't want bad characters turning this into a huge problem. Another big thing is the barrier to access for this. So as I mentioned, a lot of the basis for the large language model started from 2020 and prior, but if you imagine people that didn't have broadband internet at that time or prior, they're not even in the system. Maybe that's nice if they didn't want to be, but at the same time, they may not have a perspective that is integrated into the system. In particular, if you think of places, third world countries, well, they may not be like culturally relevant in results for these things. I've seen examples people online did that showcased, they just type in like people in Middle East, and it often resulted in showing like warfare scenes and stuff like that, because that's commonly what we're seeing in either the news or media, but it doesn't show that they also have a varied culture. So they have different foods and different languages and stuff. So it's very biased in some cases. And that also hits the last point on this one. And in particular for AI art, this has become quite a big issue, especially last year. I think we heard with the writer strikes and all that stuff for like media. You know, is AI going to take those jobs? That's a big worry for some of them. And do they get covered by fair use rules, because are the images created or the text created transformative enough so that it's like a new piece of work? Or is it really just taking others' works and reprinting them in their own words? So it covers kind of being a big problem potentially with if people are credited or rewarded for their art, especially also in consideration of the training of AI. So I do photography myself, and I'm always curious too, like, are my pictures built into the system? Does it pull relevant pictures, like for instance in the background? I took a night sky picture from AI, and I was like, well, that wouldn't be uncharacteristic of works I've done. So I'm like, I wonder how much it integrates works I've done or others have done in building new images. And it's interesting to see one new technology I've heard of is that they can embed, which is essentially like in the data behind the scenes, like tokens or copyright, and that would kind of alleviate some of the issue where AI might not be reporting where it's getting the information from, but it may showcase in the subset of data, you know, like whose work it really is. That's one thing that's been going around. I don't know if it'll pick up or not, because AI is really smart, so they might get around it again, but it's interesting to see. And on the other side of the coin, the bright side of AI art, it's really cool to see it as a use for a tool for art education. In particular, I didn't study a lot of art in school, so I don't know too many of the different styles out there. But when somebody tells me, hey, throw it up in this style of art, and then I can see and experience, well, that's pretty cool. That's a cool art style I haven't heard of before. And you don't need to know a lot about art techniques to make these prompts, which is really exciting because it gives people an opportunity to try and make it digital arts and all. And it enables new creative ideas and concepts. And here I'm going to start going into some demos with some examples and all, but did anybody have any questions so far at all? I know I covered a ton. Yeah.
Yeah. Can we back up a tiny bit to that chat box? So let's say that I'm emailing someone out a Yahoo email, and I'm delivering bad news, but I want to tone it down. I don't understand how the AI gets into that email.
Yeah, sure. One thing you can do, some of the new technologies are integrated into it. So it may be that, I think Microsoft's got one that we'll show called Copilot, which helps you in the different programs you're in, write them, so it'll help you in an email program. But what you can do is you can do it in ChatGPT separately, write up whatever email you want.
Do your email in the app?
Well, what you do is you would write up the body of text that you want to say, and then have it convert that. So you can say, take this message I want to send to a friend and make it sound happier or something like that. Oh. And it'll spit out more text for you pretty much based on what you told it, but hopefully curtailed to be more happy sounding like you might want. And then you can copy and paste that into the body of the email.
Oh, so you kind of jump out of that email that you're typing just normal into chat box.
Exactly. You can use that to make the text that you want and then copy and paste it back to your email. But I think we're going to see that integrated more, like AI built into the systems more directly soon. I think in Microsoft's case, they've really done that more so far with Outlook and I think Hotmail as well. They'll have like an AI symbol. I think right now they're using a ring that's like blue. And it's really new to me. I haven't actually used it yet as much, but I've seen that it's there in their software programs like Word and Excel. And you can click on that and it'll ask you like, what do you want assistance with? And you could probably ask it there to like change the wording of mine to sound whatever way you want it to. And it might give some recommendations. I would hope, in my case, I'm assuming it might underline or highlight them and say, change these words, but maybe it does it all on its own. I don't know yet.
So when you say take the text to chat box, do you go to the internet, just key in chatbox.com?
Oh, I'll show you. So,
or how do you get into it?
yeah, exactly. So we'll get to the images after, but with ChatGPT here, which we're going to do a demo on too, they have a site, which is underneath this little thing. It's called chat.openai.com. Fortunately, it's covered by the little sharing symbol.
Okay.
And we're going to go into that now. We'll jump to this.
So you have to search for it and it would just come up.
Yeah, so if you go to openai.com, it does require an account, but it didn't require money. So like this is the free plan that I'm using here. They do ask you if you want to upgrade, you can use the latest and greatest, but it'll still work on the free side of things. The big difference is that it's ChatGPT 3.5 as it shows up there, which is a slightly prior model because 4 is like the newest, but you have to upgrade to that. I think 4 is also the one that you can do like images if you want, but ChatGPT 3 will do text. So yeah, you'd be able to type in this box right on the bottom here. It's just a message system. They give you a couple examples that you can start with if you want to, but you can write whatever you want here and you can build that around things. So does anybody have any prompts they want to try? Any ideas? Anybody, anything? I mean, it's interesting because you can, it's like so open-ended. You could do anything.
Tell my friend their dog died.
Yeah. Let's see what it will do.
Whoa.
And it's going to go through a little bit quickly, but let's back up here.
The suggestions.
Yeah.
So it's giving me kind of a how-to
Yeah.
guide on doing it, as opposed to the actual wording.
Yeah.
So then I would maybe refine it and say, what do I say in an email to my friend?
Ooh, and this will be a good test too. I'm not going to say in regard to the already made message because it should keep it in the memory of ChatGPT. So let's see how well that works. And see, yeah, it's pretty smart.
Oh, there you go. So you can import that into your
Exactly.
Yahoo or.
Yep. And just fill in those blanks because you don't want to sound like you did cheat and use ChatGPT. But yeah.
That's right. Or you have to give a speech.
This isn't telling them that the dog died. This is, I heard that.
It's true. That's also a good thing. So the biggest thing with any AI thing is always double check it because you never know what it's going to tell you. If you punch something in and you just hit send, well, who knows what's coming out. So yeah, that's a good point. The way that it's changed the perspective is also interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Amazing.
Yeah. And you can see too with a lot of this, it's taking the tone of like how humans really speak more. It doesn't sound straight like a bot, like in our earlier cases before the AI kind of boom that just kind of kicked off. A lot of those you would have seen like just straight generic text.
Yeah.
But these kind of build in different like elements of the human characteristics. So yeah, it's pretty amazing. And then what is it here? Oh yeah, and they give you that little hint too. Feel free to personalize it.
Right.
Yeah. And I think they even give you, they give you a little shortcut to copy it too if you want. You can even regenerate it. So if you find that these responses aren't accurate to what you're looking for, you can help AI build its base. But yeah, so that's the OpenAI one, and it's not the only one that does text. There are others as well. For instance, this is Microsoft Copilot, which I think is the one they're integrating into like the email system itself. So you don't have to go out of the system; you can keep in it. I'll go back a page to what it looks like at the front.
So Facebook has AI incorporated in it. So when I'm on pages for Boston Celtics, whatever, it's capturing something.
Yep. Yeah. And
so it might show me more Boston Celtics.
Yeah.
Or if I had a question in the comment, it might pick that up.
Yep. Yeah. So it takes a variety of those interactions into account, whether it's a search box, it's a comment, it's a like on it. It will take those into account for what it thinks you would like. Sometimes that's good, and sometimes it's,
But
over.
It's doing it.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Doing it.
Yes. In a lot of cases, you don't have control over it, depending on the company. Good companies will put in certain things that help, give you more control over your privacy and information. Others are just taking advantage of using that for their information systems. So for instance, here, actually, I want to go back if I can, but it won't work. No. Let's just start fresh and see if it'll work. Yeah, so Copilot's kind of a new one I've just been seeing everywhere now because Microsoft's really pushed it into all their systems. But what you can do is you can pretty much ask anything here too. Did everybody else see it too? Yeah. It just came in like in a week and all of a sudden it's everywhere, which kind of shows you.
They're just like ignoring it.
Yeah, exactly. I found one cool thing. So yeah, I ignored it too actually for a couple days. And then I decided, well, if I'm using it and want to learn about it, I can see. And one really cool thing is that they put reference and resources on the bottom of the results. So let's choose. Sure, why not? It's also interesting. It can create tables and graphs and stuff like that. So yeah, and you can bring them right into Excel from there, which is really big in terms of business styles, working things. But what I love here is, let's see. Well, what I don't love is the ads, but that's there. The Learn More section, in some cases, depending on what you're looking for, kind of gives you some examples of information where they're pulling this from. So in particular, this one's looking at running shoes for women. It gives you a couple different connections. Runner's World's a big one. I'm not sure why Forbes and Bing, but yeah, I created a chart for you, which is pretty cool. And you can bring this right into Excel if you wanted to. So yeah, that's really quick. This could be probably big for anybody in finance too, especially because if you're like, hey, I need a table for the 12 months of rent this past year or something like that, and you just type in a ring of numbers and it'll probably build you a chart right there. So might make it pretty quick and easy. It's really handy in working with functions and formulas too in Excel and other programs. Because if you don't know, like, how do I get these columns all to add up? Well, it'll show you the equal sum and then just put in the column that you're looking for kind of thing. So pretty handy. So there's definitely some good uses for it. Cooking's interesting. I bet there's going to be a whole world of cookbooks based around AI. So let me backtrack a little bit here.
So it's fine to play with it. You're not going to get in trouble.
Yeah. No, you're not going to get in trouble, and they probably want you to play with it more because that'll build the system up more. So I'm sure in the use of it now that it's public, it's probably being developed even faster. So we're going to see that ramp up in its ability to probably process things more. I kind of left out this little chunk that I was going to spiel about too, depending on how many people are interested, but it's really, this boom really kicked off because of the computer processing technologies we have now. One thing I mentioned was NVIDIA, that brand that's worked on making the graphics processor units, which seems a little funny if you know more about computers, in that it's not the computer processing units that are what's really driving this, but it's because CPUs or computer processing units kind of work in a linear fashion. And that they just like take inputs and give outputs, and they kind of chain that on so it only runs one sequence at a time. Whereas graphic processing units run simultaneous different like algorithms and processes at once. And that's really big in empowering AI, because AI needs to calculate the different possible options and sequence that together as fast as it can. So it's running multiple threads of information and then trying to develop one processed answer. Just a little bit of nerdiness there. So yeah, one of the examples we'll go into now is Canva Magic Media. And Canva is actually what I made this whole program in, what we're looking at for this program. It's pretty cool. It's really handy for us as librarians here. I hadn't used it until I worked here, but when I started using it, I didn't realize like how powerful it really is. I came from using Adobe systems for photo editing and video stuff, and find that this is way more handy and useful. And especially once they integrated the ability to use some of these AI, like for instance, Canva Magic Media. which hides under their apps section. And it gives you the ability to use, well, it's not Dolly, which one is it? I think it's just their own AI system. But in here, you can type in different things, and they give you a couple different examples right now. There's like some different rubber ducky kind of looks. But if I wanted to make a new background for this, because it's kind of plain and boring compared to the other stuff I've made, yeah, we can throw in, I don't know, does anybody want to see an image of anything in particular?
Black hole.
Oh, that could be interesting. Cool. So usually the best way to do it is to have a subject and a like theme or design element. So you can say in like pencil drawing or in painting or in a photorealistic image.
In watercolor.
Yeah. Cool.
It seems like a oxymoronic somehow, but.
That's also another fun thing to do with this AI stuff is see if you can stump it. And sometimes you'll get those hallucinations, as they call them, where it's AI tried to come up with something, but it's totally not relevant. And the more you try and do it, the weirder the answers get. Yeah, let's see what we get here. We can always work on it from here. In my head, I'm thinking, is it going to give us like a Bugs Bunny kind of black hole, or is it going to give us a space-style black hole?
Oh, wow.
Interesting concepts. Well, this is a kind of cool looking space theme. Replace the background with it. And so, yeah, it's like pretty crazy how simple you can make like a watercolor style image and make it into a background and just integrate it. It's a nice thing sometimes when that's not maybe the main point of what you're trying to get across, but you want to build the visuals, you can just plug and play really quick.
Canva command you selected from that pop-up menu.
Oh, sure. I just did the right click and I did, instead of detach image from background, I did set images background.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. And if you already had a background, it probably said replace background at the first one I clicked because there was an image in place there. So yeah. And then you could always change this too and be like,
Solar eclipse.
oh yeah.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Yeah, let's do that on this one because I don't like this background anymore either. Eclipse. What kind of design are we looking for? I don't know a lot about art, so that's why I'm not so good with it. But what's that? Oh, that would be cool. Oh, not spelling.
Yeah, no, you're on your own.
But AI is smart and it helps me. Boom. There we go. I spelled that wrong. Okay. Style. Art style. Is that art in there? Let's see what that gives us. That'll be interesting. You can also tell it too if you want like more particular in colors. You want a figure in there or something like that. Some of the stuff we'll look at in a second here. We'll look at. Oh, wow. That's cool.
Oh, that's cool.
Wow. Oh, wow. That really got. Wow.
So is that making each of those up? That isn't like finding that somewhere.
Exactly.
It's
So
making it up out of everything that it knows and saying, this is what I'm going to put together.
yeah.
All
Which is-
four are different and
Yeah. And it's pretty crazy because it does that relatively quickly, as we saw here. And it is a super huge system. I mean, they've designed server systems that hold and run these things, and they submerge them in the ocean to keep them cold enough. Microsoft's done that, I think, off the coast of South America. They've built these big server systems, and they keep them cooled by keeping them in the ocean, which also might have a negative impact on the environment. And as of right now, we know like AI does have a really big carbon footprint due to all the processes that it's constantly running. But some people have said there's a good outlook for that because it's also being used to develop new technologies for greener environmental impacts. So things that we couldn't even think of.
because it consumes an enormous amount of power.
Yeah, exactly.
Right now, that power is not coming from the sun or wind for most of these things.
It's very true. Exactly. Yes. Although that's slowly changing, and they've found some really cool ones. I think sand batteries is one that I recently heard of that they used AI to develop an idea to take sand and keep it enclosed in something, and as the sun heats it, it continuously keeps that heat longer than other substances they have available. Yeah, so I think they were testing that in Nordic countries because it would last a little bit longer into the winter time for them. So it gives them an alternative energy source for them.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. So yeah, I'll throw this in here because it's relatively cool. Yeah, and it gives you a lot of flexibility too. With it'll keep that there for
They're
you.
not wearing their Eclipse glasses.
I don't know if they had them back then. It's a good question though.
So there's a way to save those images?
Yes and no. So it'll stay there, and I found like if you left this and came back, it keeps like one question, like the little prompt that I put in there, so you can hit it again to generate it, but it doesn't keep them there. And that's also kind of important because as you can see down here, it says I've used, like doing one prompt has used 1 of 493 credits. So this is the pro version, so we do have the more credits available. I think the free one gives you maybe 50 to 100 credits. Which still gives you like 50 prompts probably or something like that. But it doesn't keep all 4 of those images made.
So if I was writing a paper and this generated, let's say the one that's outlined there, and I wanted to put that in the paper.
Oh, that'll save. As long as you move it into something. Yeah, it'll save it.
So I can save it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, just like I moved it into the background here. It's like locked in now. So it won't go away because I've like exported it from that little AI system.
So I could export it to another.
Yep, you can copy and paste it pretty much anywhere in the computer, like an image.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah.
I saw something about this on, it was like, if you generate a happy Maltese dog in the backyard, and it would show, and you
Let's
could
do
say
it.
3 or 4 dogs or something.
Yeah, exactly. Happy. Let's do a husky just because this week we have husky in, which was really cool. Hey, husky. So.
Yeah, I saw something on TV about it.
Yeah. It's pretty amazing too, looking at the quality.
What you're typing in there is going through the internet at whatever maximum rate you have for service.
Yep.
Going somewhere in the world through the internet, churned, that output is getting back here.
Yeah. And it's crazy because it's massive systems that are taking all the information they could ever find on the internet, really, and turning it into this works for us.
So it's looking for those, it's
Looking for information related to it. But it's making it, exactly. So what happens is typically, let me scroll up a little bit. The words are often, so it probably, there's an image in the system and it takes that image and it corresponds it to other images and sees what people have messaged on it in particular and says like, oh, that's a husky. Well, now the computer knows that's what a husky looks like. So it'll go through and take other images maybe related to it. And then it'll take happy. Well, that's a smiling face. And it'll correspond the smiling face onto the features. It's just, it's crazy. Let's change it to 2 happy huskies.
So if a lot of people start using this new ability, technology,
yeah,
then the transport system, the internet transport system is going to go, ugh. It's going to have.
That'd be interesting to see too.
Oh, there's 2 and 3.
Yeah.
Yes, sometimes it's not the best at estimating. We got 2 in the first couple there.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens in the last one. I find the last one's often the most like off. It takes longer than usually, but it's actually pretty accurate here too.
Yeah.
It's interesting too because I think it's done it in a photorealistic style,
Yeah.
and we didn't actually ask for that. So maybe it defaulted to the idea of it being a photo like that. But it's pretty cool. And then although if you do blow them up, sometimes you'll see some funny things where like maybe the eyes are funny. Maybe the face.
The eyes and
Blue eyes,
everything.
yeah.
They're very blue, aren't they? If you've seen Game of Thrones, that might not be a good thing. So, for example, what I did here, I'll show some examples of these. I put in this prompt on the left and got these results on the right, and we're going to compare them to Bing's as well, because Bing also has an AI image. Let me blow this up bigger. So some funny and cool things I noticed here. They look pretty good. They look tasty to me, because I love blueberry pancakes. But you'll see some funny things, like this fork is kind of bent.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where's the... They also put a lot of maple syrup in, and I love maple syrup, but that's probably a lot. Blueberries are interesting, but generally these ones are pretty good on Canva. So let's hop over to Bing Image Creator. Also requires an account, but it is free, and we'll do some examples in this one too in a second. And that's what their system looks
I was
like.
reading that AI has a problem doing hands.
Yes, Hands, faces, and yes, some other features. Yeah. And sometimes you get 2 or 3 eyeballs or 6 or 7 fingers. It doesn't know how to count that well yet. But same prompt from the last one. And the funny thing I find is like, I don't know what kind of bottle that is, but it's kind of cool. That's some really unique glassware there. Yeah, and then you get kind of this honeycomb thing going, which I've never seen with maple syrup. Also, one of my favorite things, I would want to do this, but that's like that orange juice, it looks like, but it's maple syrup. So if you really like to drink maple syrup, but maybe some things you'd want to tweak or look at if you're running this again, and you know, that's also a lot of maple syrup too. But let's hop into Bing and we can do some things there. I wish I could see behind this, but.
Does Bing work on a Mac?
Yeah, it's online based. So yeah, you could do it on either. How do I?
Now, I would think in the end, these companies, their aim is to make money. So they're looking for attorney or lawyers' offices and doctors.
It could be in some cases.
Architects to buy the pro version.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of those too, it kind of gets expensive when you use it on like a corporation or business level, I think. Some of those are really big, but you can do a lot with them. You can kind of do all sorts of prototyping. I think I've seen some of the business level ones, especially in like manufacturing stuff.
Yeah.
But this one is, oh, look at that. They added Copilot right here now. So it used to be just Bing Images Create, but I guess they're integrating that Copilot. Another change, and it just happens like that. But yeah, it's another one where you can just type in anything you want to see in images. They run their system a little bit differently on the points and how many credits you get. I think the token there shows how many we have now. And they also do tell you a few hints, like ways to see different types of drawing on there. So you can do like photorealistic, pencil drawing, futuristic styles. Let me see here. They also had. Yeah, they give you an example of how hands and eyes and faces may become like distorted in the imagery. Text is always really interesting to see. I typed library once to make like an image, and it just came out looking like a bunch of gibberishy words on a picture of a library. So may misinterpret.
No panda bear cooking.
But it's really cool. You can really do a whole bunch of things. So let's also take that same prompt we did for the puppies here. See if I can get into over its apps. This might be my downfall if I didn't save it. Oh, there it is. So luckily it saved it here. Let's try that in Bing and see how the results look. It's always fun to compare the two.
It says hit suggested cartoon style. Huh.
Yeah, if you wanted an anime style. Oh, look at those. Very fancy. They're very good at finding what people have liked, I think, in terms of the graphic style. Make it look really visually appealing. And the cool thing with this one is the thing, they can tell you what the size of the images is, and it gives you the chance to save or download it right there, or share it. Whereas in Canva, you just kind of had to copy and paste. This one allows you to do a little bit more to it.
So the
Look, so happy.
tokens get used when it creates or if you keep it?
When it creates, for the most part, I think on all of them. I don't think I've seen it otherwise yet. But yeah, so when you submit the request for it, it does use up some of the tokens or credits what you have. But there's no straight algorithm yet. And I think a few people have tried to figure it out. But so for instance, this string of text for a prompt only used 1 token here. I'm sure if you wrote like a whole paragraph of stuff, maybe
So
it
what's
uses
the token system? You buy or you?
It depends a little bit. So for instance, this one's a free one, so we didn't have to buy anything. So they said we had like, I think 95 for the day. I don't know if that changes
Okay.
based on how many, but I'm sure like you can buy more tokens if you wanted to because they love money.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all about that.
Yeah, so for a freebie one, that's kind of a few. It looks like we probably, maybe for the month, get 100.
Yeah.
And it varies depending on
Okay,
the...
so they're limiting usage per
Yeah, exactly.
user.
Yep. And early as in like just last year about it, there was a lot more slowness involved with it. So they would really limit like how many people could use it at the same time or how much data you can put through it if you weren't using a pro level subscription. So, yeah.
I'm curious, how
Could Bing have been aware of the previous search you did in the other?
Oh, I copy and pasted that search over.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, that's how it knew.
The images are pretty similar.
Yeah. It's probably because they're using roughly the same internet of information, really. Yeah, it kind of comes down to the fact that if people like a lot of photos in a certain look, it'll probably try and recreate that to get our interest in through the appeal of it. So yeah. So imagery's cool. It's really a huge world on it. Oh, I think this is some of the older ones that I kept them. Yeah, this is one I punched in last time, I think, for the Dover, New Hampshire during Apple Harvest Day on a sunny day, and you got some really wacky results in here.
Oh, wow.
This one, that was a lot of apple in there.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, look.
I haven't seen that in Dover, but if we had one of those, that'd be really cool.
The bus or the truck. Maybe we should do a.
Float like that.
Yeah.
But some of the cool features I do like, and it's getting pretty accurate, are the fact that like Dover does have this kind of architecture in here, and like
Yeah, it's Dover.
you know, pavement and everything. It's pretty accurate.
Yeah.
Text is interesting. It comes out very gibberishy again on there. I don't know where the big billboard is, but they do know like
That looks like downtown Dover, yes.
Yeah,
it's pretty interesting.
yeah, so I pulled that out, yeah.
Exactly. And I think we did some art examples in this one, Flowers in the Garden in the style of Monet. Very cool, very, of course, again, that very appealing look to them. They love colorfulness and they love like that high lighting quality. So yeah, let's jump back over to here. Where were we? Mr. ChatGPT. So for instance, in ChatGPT, I had written the prompt as underlined above, which is what book should I recommend to someone that enjoys reading fantasy books? And it gave a pretty good list of results there. I recognize quite a few of them, if not all of them, and they are following kind of the popular or highly acclaimed titles that they showcase. So it's pretty good for a librarian to be able to recommend something if they're like, what's a popular fantasy book right now? And it did also give a little prompt on the bottom here, or a resulting comment, you know, that there were a lot more out there. Let me see what I hit next too. And then I said, from that list, which of these titles are better for young adult readers? And it did take that list and kind of pare it down to some that might be suited for like teens. Yeah, and I've asked another time too, and it was really cool because on the bottom it said, and don't forget to consult your local librarians, which I thought was a great nod to us because, you know, we're not out of a job if this is here, so.
Can I compare those to what you've got at the library?
Yeah, right? That would be really cool. That would be interesting to see if that becomes integrated in a way like that. And so Google Gemini, kind of pairing with ChatGPT, is another one good for text prompts. This is what it looks like now. I had to revise this whole thing because it used to all say Google Bard. But it's a lot more like able now. So originally Bard was just text. Now Gemini gives you so many more functions here. And that's the next one. Oh, there's Gemini. Gemini here is pretty cool. It's another text prompt base on the bottom row there. You know, I don't think there is really a limit to how many you do on this one. I've never seen any kind of token limit or anything. So it might be completely available. You do just need an account for it though. So it is free, but you need an account through Google. Let's see here. Oh, you can pay for an advanced one as well. Anybody want to try any text prompts?
So years ago, when you first learned Microsoft Office, there used to be a little paperclip.
Yes, yes, yeah.
If you didn't know how to do something, kind of a cartoony paperclip would talk to you.
That was the best.
So if you put in Microsoft paperclip, would it show it?
Let's see. Also, misspellings aren't a big deal with text things. They're pretty smart, which is great. Clippy, that's what it was. Oh, let's see what it gives us. If it gives us
I
an
didn't
image.
know he had a name. It was kind of annoying.
He was always there, and it would kind of like take over too much space.
There was a way to get rid of it.
Yeah.
I did.
I want to see if it'll give us a image. Oh yeah, cool.
There it is.
Yeah. So that was, one of those kind of precursor AI systems too, which is pretty cool. And I've heard that in some cases, some of the oldest systems of AI were really designed around chess games. When you played against a computer, those ones were taking whatever input you gave it and trying to create another result against you. So it's one of like the first kind of commonly AI systems.
Yeah, that was years ago.
Yeah.
Many users found it to be annoying and intrusive.
Does it say that too?
He was intrusive.
That is funny.
Despite his.
I got rid of him fast.
Yeah, so I don't see his reaction.
And that's a lot of also relevance to like how new the system is building in, kind of newer things into it. During the last year, it was a lot of information pretty much based on 2020 and prior stuff, but the systems have opened up a lot more information that's current as well. So it's pretty cool to see. It's a little bit scary to see because it so quickly can take all the information that's on the internet and just build you results from it all. So, but one of the cool things, and I will showcase here, is this consensus app, which is really cool because it's more, I want to say trustworthy. I'm hoping that's the case too, but you can ask it a bunch of different questions here. I don't know what the cash transfers have to do. It's primarily a healthcare based one, I thought, but it looks like you can do a lot more than just healthcare related. But for instance, I'll click this prompt here, and it gives you this kind of interesting dashboard of information related to things. And looks like you can also integrate it with other systems like Copilot and Synthesize. Gives you a little summary, and then these are generally all different papers. So it comes from New York Academy of Sciences. It's got a bunch of citations in the year and everything. I think this will be a huge help for educational systems, healthcare systems, if you're a hospital librarian at all. One example I think I mentioned in the first program here was we've had one of the librarians at the hospital in the state mention they were getting a lot of questions for papers that didn't exist when they looked for them. People had submitted information that they had built off of ChatGPT, which made up references and made up papers and stuff, which is a whole dangerous world. Like, you don't want to play around with the healthcare system and just devise imaginary ideas, but it would look realistic enough for a reference that the librarians thought it was real because it came from a named source and it came from, it's got a date and it's got a journal number, but those weren't in reality in existence. So it was just building them to look like it. That's why I think this kind of system is a lot more important because it's giving you a lot more of like where those resources are from. Internal medicine, sleep, 0 citations, but maybe then you'll look at this one, which has 361, and say this has more relevant information. But it's pretty cool because it's kind of based more around just, research papers that are documented. So maybe more of them will go in this direction and we'll feel a little bit more trustworthy on the AI style.
Well, that's one of the problems in real life is they found that a lot of these papers that have been submitted were not.
Yeah, exactly. Not based on like scientific
Well, the real people are submitting them.
Yeah.
Yeah, to get credits so that they can move up the chain.
Yeah, that's a whole dangerous thing too. Yeah.
So these are all United States companies.
That's a good question. I don't exactly know.
Because around the world, there are other, I would guess, companies that are doing the same kind of thing.
Oh, I'm sure, yeah.
And we're trying to maybe write laws to contain what goes on, but we can't contain it because it's everywhere.
Exactly, yeah. It's a very global-based thing now.
So it's useless to try to write laws to contain it.
Yeah. In some cases, like this one, it shows in the About Us, it looks like these are probably, hopefully, real people.
I'm glad you're showing that because so many people don't realize the brain power that it takes to come up with this. They just think of, well, okay, ChatGPT is something out there and it runs at a server, if they even know what that is.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't be there if these people didn't churn.
Yeah, exactly. And hopefully
churn in their brains to figure this stuff out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's pretty interesting.
So doctors could use this for symptoms of a patient?
Potentially, yeah. I could probably see that happening, especially for cases maybe that aren't as commonplace. So like I'm sure, because they have their own big software databases already with research information, but maybe something is newer or not documented well in their database and they want to expand on that. This could potentially bring them more information.
Troubleshooting anything, a car.
Yeah.
Well, as my partner in crime here said to me just a couple minutes ago, that this is better than Google. Because Google just gives you lists of things that you have to delve into.
It's true. This is able to, extract that information a little bit more related to what you're looking for.
And it presents it in a friendly format.
Yes.
So it's, is Google going to be around?
Well, that's why I think they're trying to get on board with integrating it into their system. So maybe they'll just take it and build it into the Google questions and all that you can search for. That's very interesting.
But I think there's also a challenge in that it's basically synthesizing what people are like, and so you're becoming a little more uniform in your response and reply, so you're losing some of the...
Yes, that is a big thing. Creativity is becoming a lot less commonplace in that way because it's using what's the more commonly worded ways. Well, then you're just kind of funneling everybody to using a certain type of language.
Yeah, it's easy to bias the result. And people may not recognize that.
It's true.
You're just getting this text thing, and you don't really have a feeling of where it came from. What people were thinking who wrote the rules that allowed that to be presented.
Yeah, it's very true. And I think that's going to be a huge impact on how the legislation goes about dividing up, what rules are in place and what things are kind of left to being more open.
Yeah, but people don't have to follow the rules.
Yeah.
This is 2024.
Yeah. Oh, and there's a whole other scary world of things too with regard to the AI stuff because there was, I forget the name of the system, but there was a system devised, and I think it was Department of Defense that worked on it, and it was able to pretty much take an image of anybody and compare it with databases it's been collecting for years and years from like Facebook profiles you made, and it could tell people's names like instantaneously just from an image. That became such a scary thing, and some of these, I guess this big board meeting that went around, all the ethics related to it, they tried to keep it under wraps in a way. And I can't remember the name of the big group that did this right now, but they only sell it to Department of Defense and Homeland Security and stuff like that because it's such a powerful and potentially scary tool that, if everybody saw that it's available on the internet, then I don't think anybody would put anything on the internet anymore. So, yeah.
Well, TSA is trying out facial recognition at a couple of airports. Right now.
But that can also be very dangerous in some ways. Like I think I saw in authoritarian countries like in China and stuff, they've already implemented a lot of those things. Yeah, but it can easily track people then. So it's such a big privacy issue where they saw you here because this camera saw you. Well, that camera's on a sidewalk over there. They can literally follow you everywhere just because the system's
in China, you get social credits. Yeah. And if you hang out with the wrong people, your credits go down. They may knock on your door someday and say, come with us. So, yeah.
It's very crazy. Hopefully we'll never have that much of an issue, but yeah, it's crazy what can go on with all the technologies. Head back to, so that was the consensus one, covered that. So yeah, I've kind of reached the end, but of course, open-ended, any questions or anything at all. I'd love to hear what everybody thinks too, because I'm sure everybody's going to see it somewhere, somehow, or maybe even be integrated into using it in some ways, but
so anybody can go in and get this consensus and download it. It's an app, right?
Yeah, it's actually it's just a website. It's called consensus.app. You could just put that in a web browser and you can use it yourself. So anything I've been using here generally are pretty much all available. So I tried to make sure I was using ones that anybody can get into. Some require an account but are free, like Google. The consensus I've used so far, it didn't require me to have an account. They did ask to create an account, but I just used the search bar. I'm assuming you get more featured stuff if you create an account because maybe you could save searches and stuff like that.
So I noticed one of the examples that showed up 10 minutes ago. It was create a program in some programming language.
Oh.
And then it just did it.
It's
and that's what even programmers are doing that now.
Yeah.
Create a table like this.
No, this is actual program.
Oh.
I think.
And programs are using it, but of course they have to check it out because it's not always right.
May have been scrolling on one of these. Probably Copilot. With Copilot, you can do a whole lot of stuff. I haven't even done yet most of the things here, but have it pretty much. These are just some examples. I'm wondering if it was just an example that was scrolling maybe.
Yeah, it was
Calculate
shown like that in one of your examples of what it can do, and it just happened to be there.
Yeah.
It almost seems like you have a 3D printer downstairs.
Yeah.
It almost seems like you could communicate.
Ooh.
You wouldn't have to learn the language.
True.
How to talk to the program. You could tell this thing,
yeah,
I need a box with a circle and a this and a that.
Yeah, and that's definitely, and it's a big one for, I want to say it's called Xcode or GitHub. Those ones are code-based ones. So if you want to develop a website, yeah, you just pretty much tell it the design elements that you want to see, and it will produce the coding for you that you can use in it. Yeah, it makes it a lot faster and more accessible for people that maybe don't have the coding experience.
Yeah, you don't have to learn the coding. That's just...
Yeah, and it's cool because even if you run into some like roadblocks or something, while you're like, oh, I copy and paste that in, but my site broke or something, just copy and paste all the HTML text you have there, put it into that system, and it can probably tell you, fix this and fix that, and you'll have a, a working website again.
Yeah.
So,
it's just...
it's interesting, that's for sure.
Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is there anything otherwise with AI people have heard of that maybe had questions on, or? I think some of the
you have to get it and play with it.
Yeah, exactly.
I think way to learn it.
In here, I think I also saw one that was
I
kind of
didn't
crazy.
realize that it would do all of this.
Yes, and more.
You know, like this consensus thing, like fun things, like searching for lipstick or something.
Yeah.
I thought it had to be serious stuff, but.
Yeah, and you can always use it to, I think one of the popular ones I've seen is like, build me a itinerary for a vacation or something like that. And it's pretty cool because it usually brings up like different sites for resources. So you can like, hey, if you want to do skydiving, here's a couple skydiving in Bermuda or something like that.
Wow.
What do you do in Lisbon, Portugal in June?
Yeah, exactly. And it might tell you maybe that's a busy season and you might want to go in May. Oh, there's something else I recently saw. Was a way. Oh, yeah, these are interesting. I haven't touched on these yet, but you can create your own like presenters, which uses like realistic looking facial expressions of people, and you can make them talk like they're real, which I haven't done yet, but it seems a little crazy. So I guess you can make your own presentation.
I heard that there's a lot of diet pills, things that are being advertised with celebrities.
Oh, geez.
And they're not really taking the diet pills or whatever kind of pill it is.
And a lot of times
they're using their voice, like the Biden phone calls. And I saw one, and it was Kelly Clarkson.
Oh, yeah.
Promoting this diet weight loss pill, and it's not her, and she's not endorsing it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It looks so real.
Wow.
It gets very
Her
crazy
lips are
seeing that.
moving and the words are coming, and it's her voice, but it's not her.
Yeah, a lot of times those are called deep fakes, where they're really well orchestrated in the graphic design elements, so they look very realistic, but yeah, bad turn on events on that. Some of the things in these image creators that I've used, because these ones are a lot more limiting in a way, like Night Cafe and Midjourney are a little bit more open. You can put like anything, you can get, bad results that we don't necessarily want to see, but with these ones, Canva and Bing are really good at kind of controlling like how bad things look and stuff like that. So, and they also block off certain like celebrity things. So I think when before the Queen had passed away in England, we tried to put in her, and it just says like we don't have anything to offer for this celebrity figure or personal figure. So it does block some things, not everything evidently though.
Kate Middleton on the balcony.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, you can tell the text you want. You can even upload your own audio, and you just pick a face, and it'll.
Jeez.
Wow.
That's scary. Yeah.
It's scary because it's so easily accessible in some ways too.
How do you use it here at the library?
We haven't used this one before for anything, but in Canva I've used to make images like the background things you'll see here. I just made some images. You can see the facial recognition is a bit funky on some of them, but yeah. So, and I put down here in the corner of them like what I use for the prompts. So it's kind of a courtesy and kind of proper thing to do nowadays with using them is to put in the prompt you used, the system you used, and the date you did it. There's no consensus yet on a perfect system for it, but that's just kind of the most relevant. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah, thanks.